I'm more pissed off than creeped out about this situation. It just happened about an hour ago. I'm visiting LA with my best friend. The rental was running on empty, so I stopped at the first gas station to fill it up. I'm from New Jersey, and as you may or may not know, an attendant fills up our gas for us. With that being said, I do know how to fill up my own gas tank. I pull up to the gas station, and the first thing my friend and I see is a dark, scruffy looking man. I decided to wait until he leaves to get out of my car. Did he leave? Nope. Instead, he walks halfway around my car so he's about 10 feet away from us and starts talking to me. I'm yelling through my window, "What the fuck do you want? Leave me alone!" My friend starts freaking out, and at this point I'm wondering if he works there because he keeps pointing at my gas tank. He walks all the way to the window, meanwhile my friend is starting to have a panic attack and continues talking and signaling. He wanted to get in my back seat. I responded, why? And he goes,
"Because you're beautiful, and I want to ride with you."
He continues trying to get in my back seat, and I'm yelling at him to get the fuck away from us. Then he starts asking for my number, and I tell him politely he can't have it. He reaches for his pants, and I honestly thought he was either going to 1. Pull out a gun, or 2. Pull out his junk. Eventually he backed off, but I was too scared to get out of my car and drove off to the nearest close gas station. So, creepy guy at the gas station, thank you for making me appreciate living in New Jersey where I don't have to exit my car and deal with freaks like you. So, I'm writing this up for a friend of my mom's. I was showing him the subreddit and he shared his story and I couldn't believe it. For reference, he is a gay male. In the late 1980s, I met a guy at a club and we hit it off. He asked if I wanted to go out and get dinner with him. It was like 10 and some places would still be open, so I went. He was cute and we walked a few blocks away to a 24-hour diner called George Webb. As we were eating and talking, I started to think he was a bit odd. I wonder if it was just the alcohol, but he didn't really make a lot of eye contact with me and rocked in his seat. I still thought he was nice enough though. As dinner ended, he invited me over to his place. It was probably around midnight. I was honestly just not super into him, so I said I'd rather not as I was getting tired. He seemed irritated and kept asking and saying his place was super close and I could just sleep there, but I insisted I go back to my place. He said alright and said we could ride the bus together. This was weird to me because he said his place was within walking distance and didn't make any sense for him to even get on the bus. I ended up firmly saying no, he relented, and I went home. A few years later I saw on the news about a man being arrested named Jeffrey Dahmer. It was the guy I had gone to dinner with. Since then, I've actually talked with a few other men who had similar experiences to mine. It's really crazy to think if I had decided to go home with him, what would have happened to me? A little backstory. I lived in a moderately safe neighborhood. We had the occasional burglary, but nothing out of the ordinary. At the time, I was 17 years old, and my boyfriend and his friends decided to call me in the middle of the fucking night while I was with my friend Stacy for a sleepover. My boyfriend told us that they were at a nearby 7-Eleven and wanted to meet us. Bear in mind it was around 10 p.m. We were pretty reluctant. They convinced us by offering free food. Yes, I know, but we were teenagers, so we decided to meet them. Stacy's parents were away for the weekend, so it wasn't a problem for us to go out. We got to the 7-Eleven by 10:30 p.m. and got food and sat around outside. It was getting quite late, and if I can remember properly, it was around 1:30 a.m. when I decided that it was time to go back. Stacy was pretty trash, and I had a couple of drinks myself, so naturally we said we couldn't drive home. In retrospect, I feel extremely stupid for ever going out that night, and I completely regret it. We were only a couple of blocks away from home, so we decided that we would walk back. We were just past the corner we turned on to go to Stacy's house when all of a sudden we hear a loud,
"Hey girls!"
We both quickly turned around and saw probably a middle-aged man around 6 foot walking towards us. It was 1:45 in the morning and this guy was wearing a gray shirt and some shorts. I came to a realization that this was not normal and that we should probably walk faster and ignore this guy. In the shock, we had sobered up and had come to our senses, so we started to walk faster. By the time we were around 4 houses down from home, Stacy turned around to see that the guy was following us quite quickly. He was saying stuff like,
"Hey girls, come here.
and
You girls sure run fast."
by now I was freaking out because he must have followed us back from the 7-Eleven, and we didn't even notice. He was now running pretty fast, and it was dark, so all I could hear were quick footsteps on the sidewalk. I didn't want him to know where we were staying, so we rushed behind one of the trees and waited. Yes, it was really dumb, but we had no other choice. We thought it had worked because he had stopped following us and had walked back around the corner. We waited another 10 minutes just to be sure and ran back home. As soon as we got in, we double locked the door, turned all the lights off, and rushed upstairs. Stacy's house had a pretty secure backyard with high fences and a padlocked gate, so we felt safe. We both were petrified, and so naturally we didn't want to fall asleep. I called my boyfriend and explained what had happened, and he said that it was just some druggie. Nevertheless, I broke up with him a week after the incident. Around half an hour later, we heard a large bang coming from inside the house. At that moment, Stacy and I were about to go to sleep when we heard it. I grabbed the nearest thing to me, which happened to be a fucking dildo. So I opened the door a little bit to see nothing in the corridor, so we assumed it must have been the wind or something. Don't judge, we were still pretty out of it and exhausted. Just as we were about to close the door, we heard the back door slide open. The person was actually in our house now, and Stacy started crying. Adrenaline pumped through me as I ran down the hallway and threw the dildo down the stairs. We heard it drop to the bottom with a thud and shuffling, and then the back door slid open and closed again. I was absolutely screaming my head off now, yelling, "Get the fuck out of our house! We will call the police!" After about 15 minutes of silence, we decided to head downstairs quickly and check what happened. Apparently someone broke the glass in the kitchen by throwing a rock through it, and that was the bang we heard, and unlocked the side door. We knew this person was still out there, so we decided to call the cops. They came around 20 minutes later and called it a forced entry and burglary. Stacy's parents came home early after we told them what happened and got extra locks for every door in the house. I still get quite cautious whenever I come back from any store past 8:30 p.m. Stacy was very reluctant to leave the house at night after that, and after high school, we lost contact.